Hi, this is Christopher McClinton, CMO for Finxact, welcoming you to this episode of the xtnsbl podcast. And I'm delighted to have Emily Steele, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Savana, as our guest. Savana is one of the closest partners that Finxact has today, and we're doing some really exciting stuff, and I think you'll hear about some of that today. But first, Emily, thank you for being here.
Hi, Christopher. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
Delighted, as I said. You have an extensive background in this space, and I was hoping maybe before we start talking a little more specifically about some of the things you guys are enabling at Savana, you just tell us about that background and now having arrived at Savana in this role, what you're doing.
Absolutely. So I consider myself kind of a serial fintech person because I've spent my entire career at companies that really serve the banking space, from everything from what you would think of as traditional core providers to fintechs that surround the core technology. What I've really learned over sort of many years in this industry is how difficult it is for banks to innovate and really work and serve the consumers because of all the technology that's really required to run a bank, which seems counterintuitive to me, since technology is really supposed to be the catalyst for innovation and efficiency and not really an obstacle. So it's that realization that's made me super passionate about how technology can make banking easier. And I think of it kind of as easier from a consumer doing business with banks and easier for bankers to serve their customers. That's really what makes me want to get out of bed every day, if you will, to do the job that we do in this crazy industry. And it's actually what brought me to Savana, a technology company that's focused on breaking the technology silos inside of a bank to improve those experiences for the consumer, the banker, and the bank. And I'm really excited about Savana's focus on this because while we've advanced technology, I think there's a continued opportunity to really change the game and solve problems that have been longstanding problems with banks from a technology perspective.
I know this because as I said, the companies have been working very closely together for a while, Finxact and Savana, and share founders. The company's got a lot of momentum right now. That's very clear. I think this is an exciting time. Maybe just a thought or two you might share with us about that.
Yeah, I think it is too. Banking continues to transform at an accelerated rate. Investment in technology at financial institutions just continues to grow. So what's so exciting for me and for our team is that with the Savana technology, we can really see a path to eliminate, not Band-Aid, but eliminate longstanding challenges that banks and credit unions have faced for years. So while I've been this serial fintech person and have been fortunate to work at some brilliant companies and with what I consider the best in the business, I am super excited about the technology at Savana and how we can help an industry that's in significant transformation.
That sets up my next question nicely. I hear you say Savana is, breaking down these silos. But maybe for those that are not as familiar, what is Savana? Is it orchestration? Is it case management? Is it workflow? Is it all of the above? Help us understand that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that question, Christopher, specifically because it is all of the above. Often Savana is thought of as a servicing tool, a servicing system, but it is actually a bit broader than that. Savana is what we're offering in market is a core agnostic digital delivery platform that unifies a bank's operations. It also used orchestration. It also orchestrates and automates a bank's processes. But at the same time, it pushes those same unified processes through to the consumer with an ultimate goal of creating consistency across all assisted and self-service channels within a bank. We think of it as our mission is really to enable a truly frictionless interaction between a bank and their customers. And for us, that's the way a bank should work. And we've talked about frictionless and orchestration and automation for years, but I'm not sure we've completely realized or attained that for banks. And that's what our software is actually doing. And it's a single platform. It's not multiple systems. It's one platform that performs that orchestration, automation, and consistency through to the digital or self-service channels for a bank.
So take me inside of the bank, if you will, the bank associates, the tellers, the product managers. What are the specific problems the pain points that they're feeling that Savana is solving for?
Yeah. So one of the things that is underestimated is that banks have dozens of systems and silos that cause disjointed experiences for consumers. We call it a swivel chair is how we describe it. Mm-hmm. And that creates inefficiencies for the banker and often cumbersome, more consumer experiences. The Savana platform creates a single pane of glass that actually eliminates that challenge. Another challenge that we've talked about in the market for quite some time is consumers are demanding an easy and frictionless digital experience with their bank. But today, those experiences, because of all of the silos that multiple systems create, those experiences are different depending on where a consumer interacts with a bank. And Savana eliminates that particular problem by standardizing processes regardless of the channel. And then in addition to that, the modernization of core like Finxact, banks need a way to visualize their headless core. And we eliminate that challenge by providing a single banker's experience to visualize the core really through a lossless adapter and integration strategy. And if you think of it even more broadly than that, Christopher, these silos create massive challenges inside the bank with their efforts to modernize. It creates high risk, long durations, and our unifying process sits on the back and the front, really reducing that risk and duration. We agree that we've been talking about these challenges for many years. We've made advancements in technology, but we would argue that we haven't eliminated those. And so Savana is removing the complexities of either launching a new bank or really modernizing an existing ecosystem by controlling all of the bank's processes. And then we can begin to eliminate these 4 challenges.
So that's an interesting and a helpful way to put it. It really drives the point home in terms of getting rid of the swivel chair. I can imagine the universal banker has got to wear a lot of hats. And so how are you giving that person a single pane of glass to do all of this, to understand what's happening at the customer channels, to project there in a way that's consistent with what you're projecting in branch? And how are you pulling that off?
Yeah, you nailed it. A banker or an MSR, they have an average of 8 to 10 applications open at any given time to really navigate those numerous systems and just to perform their tasks. And that's why we call it a swivel chair, right? We think of our monitors and you look across them and imagine having 8 to 10 applications where a consumer calls in and they need to do a single thing, but the banker has to go to 8 to 10 applications to perform a simple task, maybe as simple as an address change, or a little more complicated, a dispute. That particular behavior or challenge that's being experienced, it's not caused because, the bank's not creating the right products and systems. The bank's technologies drive the need for all of these systems, both on the front, if you think of product lines like retail banking, commercial, credit card, mortgage, that creates those back-end silos. The same happens on the front, right? Consumers need lots of ways to connect anytime, anywhere. So we introduce things like online banking systems, mobile systems, kiosks, or online account opening systems. All of those silos is what creates different systems, different experiences, and different processes for the banker. What the Savana platform does is we layer over the bank's back-end silos and we sit in front of the silos that are the self-assisted channels. And then we unify the bank's technology stack, eliminating multiple services solutions, eliminating process silos, which ultimately eliminates the disjointed channel experiences. What this does for a bank is create one place, a single banker's experience or a single pane of glass for the banker or the MSR to work, and eliminates that swivel chair. It also creates efficiencies, higher quality, better controls, and at the end of the day, a better consumer experience, regardless of the channel that they're interacting with their bank.
As I'm listening to you, I kind of hear this this theme or notion of just ownership, coming through. Like you're giving the bank ownership and control of these processes and these experiences. So maybe they're not having just to take an out of the box solution from one of the ecosystem, vendors or partners and use it in a way that's not exactly what they want to do. So how are you giving them that control?
Yeah, you're exactly right. These different silos are needed for the bank to run their business. But what you described is they often handcuff the financial institution to really follow individual processes that are dictated by those individual systems. What we do is enable the bank to centralize all of their banking processes. And we do that by providing a pre-configured library we've got over 120 processes now that are very common standard practices inside of a bank that we start with. And then we give those processes to the bank and they have full control to modify, manage, add to those processes. And then we push those same processes through a universal API library through to the consumer self-assisted channels so that they can create that omni-channel consistency regardless of whether it's an assisted or a self-service channel. So it's really that unification where the bank doesn't have dozens of different systems with processes, but instead our platform becomes the centralized banking process. And then it talks back to all of the other systems, writing back any changes so that those systems stay up to date, pulls from those systems real time so that we're not the system of record. We're not looking to be in any way. It's just centralizing the processes and then communicating with the front and the back systems.
How is that all that you described? How does the bank consume Savana services? How do they get to your solutions?
Yeah, so we've got one product and our product is called Savana, but we do have multiple solutions that a bank can consume so that they don't have to use everything all at once. They may have a use case for modernization and standardizing and unifying their processes where they're just consuming certain solutions of Savana. The 4 solutions that we offer today, the first one is Savana Foundation. This is a limited offering that we really provide for Finxact only. What it does is in that headless core scenario, allows the financial institution to visualize the Finxact core, see a 360-degree dashboard for their customers, do their statement composition, and have the ability to do simple functions like create, edit, and delete where they're interacting with the core. The second solution that we have is we call it call center and bank operations. This is the full Savana value. That's where you get that single pane of glass that you asked about. Okay. And this is where all those 120 pre-configured cases and workflows live. And this is what supports the bank's operations, orchestrations for every interaction that they have. I mentioned changing address. I mentioned disputes or complaint management, transactions, transfers. It's where they do and run the operations of a bank on behalf of the consumer. And this is really where we eliminate the swivel chair. That's where that really comes into play. The third solution that we have is our banking services APIs, and that really is the open connectivity that is connecting the same processes for the banker user experience to the consumer user experience for consistency regardless of channel. And then finally, our latest solution is really providing banks with what we call digital experience accelerators for things like online account opening, online banking, mobile, allowing the bank a launch pad and a quick implementation for self-service channels, but still giving them the opportunity to differentiate and own their own experiences and own their own storefront. So a bank doesn't have to consume all of those solutions. They can choose the solution that makes the most sense for their transformation initiatives.
That's very helpful. I think, I've been working with Mike Sanchez for quite a while now. So really, for the last 4 years or a bit more, seeing Finxact and Savana side by side from the very first day, actually, that you see what you described as foundation as being right there, allowing Finxact, and yes, we actually got tagged with that name as well, in terms of a headless core. Because our focus was very much on being, the best possible system of record, and we weren't trying to be the rest of the surround. But Frank and Mike saw right away the synergies between those two platforms and brought them together early and integrated. If you're working with Finxact, I like the word you used, visualizing, the customer data, the transaction data, all through the Savana Foundation platform at the time. So that's just the complementary nature of the two solutions is something that has been apparent to me for a while. I think it's becoming very apparent now to the clients who have them in production together. So your thoughts on that and how you see the banks benefiting from that. And then also perhaps you'll talk a bit about the openness that we're both making possible. So Finxact is an open core, giving the bank that control over how it wants its ecosystem to look. And Savana is in its way, with the orchestration role that you're playing, really helping banks to achieve that end state if that's what they want.
I couldn't agree more, Christopher, with everything that you said. I think the two solutions fundamentally have a lot in common, with particularly the openness and not trying to claim or lock down any particular space, right? I think it's really a model partnership in helping banks renovate and modernize. It's driving the trend or solving for the driving trend of multi-core strategy that's allowing banks progressive renovation, right? The days of big bang ripping out a core are gone. The combination of Finxact and Savana is proving the possibilities of that. And I think you are absolutely right. What Savana and Finxact have created together, I describe as a lossless integration. Both organizations drive an API first strategy, making any data available, right? Leaning right into open banking at its finest. And so for me, the lossless integration that's been made available between Savana and Finxact has made the core fully available. Because Finxact led with making the core fully available, you don't end up having to take batch data and store it in subsystems, which is how a lot of integrations of the past began. There's not a single aspect of the core that's not addressable by a third-party system, from full configuration, full account and product setup, full transaction details, which allowed Savana to also realize and bring forward our vision to the industry to be able to operationalize a bank. We need to be able to pull forward what's important for the bank to be able to run their business consistently. I started out sharing that one of the challenges for banks are these silos. They need the different systems to run their business, but at the same time, we've created a challenge for the bank where technology is not enabling them to innovate. With this open connectivity that Finxact and Savana have been able to realize together, this API first strategy and technology is what's going to make us have the ability to eliminate the need to pull batch data, and instead has allowed Savana to build a fully real-time system connected directly to a next-gen core in Finxact, and to be able to then pull forward all of those processes to create consistency and efficiency for a bank. And I think that really is a great example of technology moving forward.
I thought it was tremendous as well. And this goes back several years, but right from the start, Savana was one of the very first vendors and partners of Finxact to code to its data model to make sure that the Finxact multi-position SOR, which is a big deal. I think if anybody that's been looking into Finxact has probably come upon that and heard, all of us talking about it and our customers talking about it, because it is a big deal. This is, a single account can have any number of positions. Any any asset class, any currency type. And that makes a lot of things possible. But if your partners are not necessarily taking advantage of it, then there can be some latent capacity there and latent functionality that's just not getting surfaced. But Savana absolutely made sure that wasn't going to be the case. So that's something that's been appreciated from the beginning, and the customers now, I think, are, as I said, ultimately the beneficiaries of that.
Yeah.
Tell me, if you don't mind, just as I know you guys got a lot going on. I probably know a little bit more than the broader public, but just what you're able to talk about for what's next for you in Savana and the rest of 2023, and whether you want to speak to what's coming on the product roadmap horizon or anything else. I'm all ears.
Yeah, we are excited about 2023 and beyond. We really believe that we can help financial institutions forward their modernization strategy. And the biggest thing that we're looking to do this year, can I say, become a household name in banks and credit unions alike?
Yes, you can say that. Yes,
can
you can.
I say that?
I like I like your odds. So I think
so that's one goal. But in addition to that, we've still got work. We are about to be with our digital experience accelerators, and we're quite excited about that solution. We are building out from a core agnostic point of view, our core adapters really to support that multi-core sidecar core agnostic strategy, where as financial institutions are trying to modernize and they have to live in a world with multiple cores for single customers, we are looking forward to seeing that realized. We've got deals in the pipeline that I can't name jointly between our organizations, where we will have next gen core beside legacy core, a single platform that's unifying those cores. And that's really exciting to me, because it is a game changer and it really is reinventing technology for banking. So that's the thing I'm most excited from. A beyond, you can look out for some things beyond that with Universal Banker, another term that we've used for a long time, but modernizing that term and changing the game from a teller and servicing from a branch perspective.
That's super. And I know that you're absolutely on point. The case for core transformation, I think, has been convincingly made, but it is definitely now the case that the banks are looking for, the best way to go about that. And having companies like Finxact and Savana come together and help frame that picture and show that path and help to show that that's a manageable process. And here's what your glide path looks like. Here's the control all that we've been talking about, that you'll have over those journeys until you're ready to get to your end state, at your own pace. That is happening now, and it's really exciting. Well, I just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's wonderful talking to you. I hope you guys keep it up. You're doing tremendous work, and maybe we'll check in again a couple of quarters from now, perhaps, and get another update.
I would love that. Thank you very much, and really looking forward to seeing where we can take this. And thank you again for inviting me to the podcast. It was fun, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.